Hola, hola. This is your boy Tico Trent, and I'm gonna talk about good D. Um, yeah, this is gonna be my second time talking about good D. This time there's not gonna be stories involved in this. Basically, I'm gonna just basically say the things that good D basically gets you, or the ways you can actually determine if you have good D. Basically, without storytelling. Basically, um, one thing I've noticed about women when you have good D is even when they're in a relationship, if you break them off good D, they'll start talking about vacation and going on vacation and stuff like that basically with you. Yeah, they actually talk about that shit if you have good D. They'll talk about, like, going away on vacation or going away somewhere basically for the weekend with you basically. Even if these heifers are in a relationship, they'll talk about this shit basically. And I always found it funny, like when I'm actually, because like this shit happened to me many times, and like, during my, with like women I'm just having fun with or women I'm in a relationship with, basically, you could tell usually you have good D because like the first time you meet them, the first time you talk to them or break them off some D, basically, they're talking about going on vacation with you, and they're basically already planning their life with you, basically, for the most part. Like, they're literally legit planning their life with you. Even if it's not going to be one of the ones where like they actually leave their husband for you, basically, they've already got plans on, like, vacation trips with your ass, basically, without their husband or boyfriend, basically. They've already started planning, like, ways that they can get D in various places with you and shit like that. Like, I know the one chick that I was talking to, who was in a relationship, who actually was married, was telling me, that she was telling me that it'd be fun to, like, if I happen to stop past her unit one time and she takes me in one of the empty patient rooms and, like, lets me bang her brains out, basically, and she can get away with it. And she'll try her best not to make any noise. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, basically they start actually making like naughty plans like that on the spot, basically, thinking about like where they can get D at, basically. Especially if you have a decent sized dick, basically. They'll tell you in a heartbeat, yeah, we can sneak off in a room because your dick's big enough, where I could, put a part of it in, and I can get what I need, basically. Or your D so good, basically, you can actually, stick it in at any given time, and like I can get what I actually need, like very discreetly, basically, and like taking me aside in a room or taking me aside in the office and acting like you're talking to me, basically. I've noticed that with women when you have good D. They'll literally start planning whole entire vacations or trips or like, various places or ways they can get some D from you, basically, that is very, very creative and shit like that. Some freaky shit type stuff, like, basically, it'll come out with some freaky shit, basically. That's how you usually have D. If your D was good with a woman in a relationship, if your D was good with anybody, a woman, period, basically. Another way I've noticed when it comes to women is if you got good D, it don't matter where she's at. You can pretty much give her the D, basically. If you got good D, you could be in a car, she'll ride the D or take the D or take it anywhere, basically. Like, I've met a girl who who actually gave me head in a car while on my way back to her place, basically, because she couldn't wait to get the D, basically. She literally gave me head in the car and was looking around to see if any cops was, and she was going to sit on my lap, basically, so she can get some D while I'm driving, basically. Luckily for me, because I have a habit of speeding anyway, that the cops were basically out in full force, and that wasn't going to pan out too well, basically. But even still, if I would have let her, she'd have probably sat on my lap and I'd have probably been driving with her, like, bouncing up and down on me, literally. Um, Another, as far as that portion of the topic, basically, another way you have good, another on that topic is basically anywhere, basically. When you have good D, when you can actually get some on the stairwell leading up to her apartment, basically. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, granted, it was like one of those houses that were on the second floor. So, like, you come in the door on the first floor and you walk up the steps, basically, because you're on the second floor, basically. If any time you can't make it to the room where you're out of earshot or view of anybody that can look down the steps at you, and you're getting your back broke on the stairwell, basically, you have good D. Nigga, you have good D. You should never have to ask, basically. If you can get it on the stairwell and people are home and you're getting it on a stairwell, you have good D. Because basically your D's so good, she will disregard any sense that she got, basically, or her inhibitions will be so low you can pretty much get it on the stairwell, basically, with people up at the top of the steps, basically. Or people that might come out of their room and go across the living room, happen to look down the steps as they're going to the bathroom, typically. Yeah, when you have good D, you can pretty much get it on a stairwell in a house with people in it at night. Another way to know you have good D is, and these are things that actually happen to me, or places I've actually had sex. Another way to know you have good D is if you've ever had sex in the snow. Yes, I've said it, in the fucking snow. In the dead of winter, basically, because a person couldn't wait to get back to their house or their flat, basically, to get some, basically, because they wanted it so fucking bad. And a car ride all the way to their house, they were thinking about all the ways they could do double monkey backflips on your D, basically. By the time you actually get there and you start up to their house, basically, because you have to park far away from the house, basically, because of the snow, she basically can't wait that much longer to walk to her house, where she will really take the power driving in the fucking snow. Literally, you could power drive her ass in the snow, literally. And I'm not talking about any old snow. I'm talking like Russia, dead of winter, minus 30 degrees outside type snow, like, basically. You know you got good D when you could beat it up in minus anything minus temperatures outside, basically. You know your D is good when you could beat it up. When she's willing to pull her pants down and, let you beat it up, or, lift her skirt and pull her hosiery down so you can beat it up, basically. It's that fucking simple. And that's actually happened to me twice, basically, where I've actually had sex in the snow and, like, very, very frigid temperatures, basically. And that actually happened to me in Russia, so yeah. So you have good D when you can do that. Actually, another time actually happened to me in when I was actually in Pennsylvania, basically. I actually had sex with a woman in the snow during a snowball fight with her, basically. We were play fighting, and then it turned into something serious, and we started kissing, and one thing led to another, and some clothes got removed, and sex was had in the snow, basically. It's that fucking simple. I've actually done it in the snow in America, so technically it happened 3 times to me, basically. Twice with the same woman and once with another woman, basically. So yeah, basically, if you can get it in the snow, nigga, you got good D. If a woman ever says to you, after having sex with you the first time, Nigga, I need to put you on payroll. Nigga, you got good D. She ever tells you she need to put you on payroll, basically you got good D. That's a way of saying you got good D. And they need to keep you around, basically. They need to employ your ass for some D, basically. It's that simple. That's how you know you got good D when you're a man, basically. And you happen to be messing around with a girl and you happen to just give her the D one time, basically. Another way you know you have D is if a woman's willing to pay for things for you. Now, I don't always condone it, but like anytime she's willing to offer up a credit card or, her car keys to you, basically, or, you to drive her car, you to do anything, nigga, you got good D. It's that fucking simple. You shouldn't have to ask if she's buying you shit, basically, and she's letting you drive her car. You have good D. It's that fucking simple. But yeah, that's about it for this video because it's getting a little too long.